Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Vic's Garage. Today we're finally getting to work on some more metal work, and in particular we're working on the inner cowl pieces, door pillar, that area. So if you remember from an earlier video, I showed a few times, those two sides were pretty chewed up, more so on the driver's side. So we've looked at this and we've come up with a plan of attack, and I'm going to show you how we plan to tackle and fix this. Okay, so if you have one of these cars, you'll know, and it's probably the same with most of these Chryslers and the E-body, is you've got multiple layers of sheet metal here. So we've got, this is like the outer door pillar post, up by the windshield trim, this is all one piece. And then this is all the inner cowl piece. And you can see here, this is what we've cut off. So it would have been on like this. You can kind of see the outline of where we cut. Right along here on this edge. Okay, and you can see here now, these are the two pieces. This is my newer one. It was a full piece, so it had that whole other back half. Actually, I have it right here. And it was like this, right? So we cut along that seam and we left a bit more of the flange. So you can see there's a fair bit of the flange here. So the plan is going to be to overlap it and have it sit like that. So now, once it's all clamped up, we'll give it a seam weld here. We'll do some plug welds here. And then we'll do the plug welds on this side. And test fitting it as it is, I'll clamp it up in a second and show it to you. It seems to fit really, really nice. So now we'll be 1/16 of an inch or whatever the thickness of the metal is. It shouldn't affect anything. There's more tolerance built into these cars than that. And the reason why we've chose to attack it this way is because when you look on the inside here, you've got all the bracketry for the door, right? We've got this panel's tying in the whole structure of the car right now into the rockers. And in order to replace this as one single whole piece, we'd have to disassemble everything. It would require a ton more bracing, a lot more work, and for something you're not gonna see. So this kind of was like the best compromise we can come up with that's gonna get these panels in quick and efficiently and potentially stronger, because now we're gonna have this welded like this, twice as thick of the metal, and it's gonna be plug welded again to tie it in another side and then on the other side. So it'll be welded in 3 different places. So I'm hoping that it'll also strengthen up the front end a bit. Okay, so now you can see it's clamped in, and you can kind of see more clearly now where it's gonna be welded. Put some holes in here. But you can see it lines up really nice. Come around the other side, and things like these holes here, they look like they're gonna line up pretty good all the way down. So that's how we're gonna attack that. It just seems like it's gonna be the fastest and most efficient way, and I'm not really gonna lose anything by doing it like that. Okay, so for the piece that's being welded in, I cleaned up all the edges that are going to be either welded or close to being welded. So if you haven't seen the video on my Car Rep 2K epoxy primer review, I go through the process of how I prepped this. This is exactly the same, except I only did the weldable surfaces. I didn't want to prime it all. I don't have any extra epoxy primer right now, so I'll just leave those surfaces. I'll clean them up when it's on the car, and then I'll get to them after. So I've cleaned up this lip, which is going to be welded along this lip and over here. And then I did it on both sides, cleaned that up too. So now I'm going to hit them with some copper weld through. I'll just spray those areas. Once it's welded on the car and I've got more epoxy primer later, I will clean the rest of the panel up and then epoxy primer it. But for now, some rust converter, some degreaser, a little sanding, and that's good to go. So I'm gonna do that. All right, everyone, so here's the door pillar installed, inner cowl piece, I think they call it, on the passenger side. Let's take a closer look at it, and then I'm going to show you how much more work's involved on the driver's side, which isn't quite done yet, but we're just following the same process. Okay, so up close here, you can see, if you look over the top, this is where the two pieces are overlapped. So basically we've added this extra 1/16 of an inch or whatever of steel. Instead of this being all one continuous piece now, it's two pieces just lapped over top. You can see we did a weld down the seam here, not continuously, obviously it would have just warped it and got way too hot, but basically did a little stitch, did a little stitch, did a little stitch, did a little stitch, and then kind of filled it in and just worked our way up and down. We also stitched the bottom here because this lip on the original one was intact. I didn't want to bust into it, just dig into the rockers. So we stitched it here, and then we also plug welded it up the front. This looks a little gnarly because the piece was a little soft over here. So we just added a little bit to that. Coming around to the side, again, we plug welded it up here, and then we just threw a couple small stitches, not a whole lot, just a few to stiffen it up, make it strong. The last piece we have to do is now the bottom, which you can see here is a repair into this panel. That was the only part that was rotted on it. So now, the only reason we haven't welded this yet is because we want to test fit the firewall. We're confident on the rest of it fitting good because it sits right up on the original. But we'll grab this clamp. I think it's going to be all right because once we clamp this, it doesn't look too bad, but it does pull the panel, right? You can see how it does move a bit. So it'll probably be good once we pull it into place, but I want to ensure that it's going to be straight and line up with the firewall seam. So the firewall's off getting sandblasted right now and primed, and then we're going to test fit everything. So now I was mentioning on the passenger side how much more work was involved. This part of my rocker on the passenger side was gone. It was soft. So we had to make a patch for here. So this is all new metal. And if you recall, I did do another patch over here in the rocker. You can see a bit of the welding. And when we come to the outside here, we'll zoom out a bit. So here's the pillar. Down here is all a patch. So this was gone on this piece. And this is another panel, right? So this is the outside of that panel. So the pillar comes here and then goes around the back like this. So this piece here was all gone and stuff. So we had to make a patch panel for that, as you can see. Same thing. We just want to make sure the other panel is pieced in before we pull this in and weld it all in place. But this looks pretty good right now. So there you have it, guys. That's the inner cowl work we've gotten done so far. Like I said, we still got to work on the driver's side. And then once those are in, we're going to test fit the firewall and the cowl again. And if that fits well, then those will go in. And then the frame rails will go in because they kind of set off the firewall. And then the floor pan goes in. So this is kind of a big step. It was a lot of work, a lot of patching and small stuff. So I'm kind of glad that this is almost done, because then we can start moving on to the bigger pieces, which I'm really excited to do, because that's when I'm going to start seeing things come together really fast on the front end. So got another day's worth of work maybe to get the driver's side done, and then hopefully my firewall's back and we can get that in. So until then, I'll keep you guys updated. Sorry it's been a while to get a charger update. I've just been so busy. September and August are busy months for me, so I've been getting a lot of other stuff done. But we're going to start getting a few more videos up, and I swear part 2 of the motion performance video is almost done. I just got to record it. I was waiting to get some more information so I can try to tie it all up. So hopefully, I don't want to make any promises. I've been long overdue getting that one done. Just keep it eye out, hit the subscribe and like button and notifications, and you'll know when it comes out. Till then, guys, take it easy.